everybody. Today we're going to have a look at my latest purchase, the Rough Rider Grandaddy Barlow. I wanted to add a new knife pattern to the collection and I didn't want to spend a lot of money doing it. So we're back with Rough Rider. There were a couple of things that took me by surprise when the knife turned up. I'll show you them now. Okay, so yeah, a couple of things that took me by surprise when it turned up. First one was the size of the knife. It comes in the usual Rough Rider denim pattern box. Inside the box, the knife's in the usual Johnny bag. And here it is. As I say, I was surprised by the size of it. Obviously I did read the specifications before I ordered it, but clearly I didn't think about them. It's 5 inches closed, 127 millimeters. The blade is 4 inches, 102 millimeters. So we've got an overall length of 9 inches. To set that in context, it's the same size pretty much as a number 10 Opinel. And if we set the usual size comparison in front of it, the Victorinox Spartan copy, you can see just what a whopper the Rough Rider is. So that was the first of the surprises. I didn't realise how big it was going to be. With a 4-inch blade, the edge is 3 5/8 in a straight line from the plunge to the tip. That's 92 millimeters. We've got a single nail nick for opening and quite a long swedge on the top that runs most of the top edge. The handle material is saw cut bone. We've got brass liners, brass pins, we've got the shield inlaid on one side, plain bolster on that side, and embossed embossed bolster on that side. So what was the other thing that surprised me? Well, I don't know if you can tell from the video, so I'll drop a couple of stills in a second, but basically it's about as straight as a banana. I hope those two stills gave you a better impression, but basically the problem is the knife curves. This side, the plain side, is concave and the decorated side is convex. So the knife is the blade is well off centre because the handle swerves round. You can see on the concave side there is a gap on the lower edge between the scale and the brass liner, although on the back that's not apparent. It's a real shame really, because otherwise the fit and finish is really nice for a knife in this price bracket. It's cost me £15. So how much of a problem is it, the fact that it's not actually straight, the handle? Well, you may be able to detect somewhere along the top there a little scuff mark, because the first time I opened the knife I had to use pliers. Part of the problem is that the bent handle was just gripping the blade, but part of the problem is with such a long blade you get a long back spring, so you need a lot of leverage to get the knife open, but the nail nick is way too close to the pivot. It would have been better to be on this downhill side of the hump in the blade, and then you'd be further away from the pivot point and you'd get more leverage. And it's still a bit tricky now. Halfway stop, as you can see. Blade markings, we've got the Rough Rider horseshoe emblem on that side on the tang. The model number on this side, RR944 China, and then on the blade there, 440 razor sharp steel. And it is actually razor sharp. It's 3mm at the thickest point at the top there, although it does taper gradually if it's full length. It's 440 steel, as it says. If you get a piece of telephone book paper, oh, messed up a bit there. That is the factory edge. I'm making a bit of a mess of that, but considering I've done nothing to this out of the box, to cut phone book paper like that is not bad at all. So would I recommend it? Well, the thing is, with this bend in the handle, it does mean it's going to be a bit of a problem if the knife is intended for any heavy use or regular use. For me, it's a collection piece, so it will be used, but maybe not very often, and definitely not very hard. So it's probably not an issue. In this price bracket, £15, I decided that it's not worth the time and effort to send it back and get a replacement. Indeed, when I looked on the website, I bought it from Heine Haynes, it was shown as out of stock, strongly suggesting that this was the only one they had. And once I bought it, if I sent it back, I'd have to pick something else. And I don't want to really, because I really like this handle. We've got quite slim, flat bone scales, and you can see the porous detail in the bone at the front where it thins down. The saw cut pattern, I'm quite convinced, is not a result of sawing the scales to size at all. It's merely a texturing that's been added afterwards. But it's very effective. It gives you a good grip and it looks nice. The colour of the bone is good. It's just a shame that there is this slight issue. If I was still opening it with pliers now, then it'd have to go back. But it's getting easier to open all the time, so I'm going to live with that. The Rough Rider Grandaddy Barlow. For 15 quid, you get a lot of knife. It's a bit of a pokey stabby one, isn't it? So there we have it. I like it. It should bring back to the forefront of your mind though that when you're buying a very cheap budget brand, it can sometimes be a lottery with quality control. To be able to shift knives in the volumes they need to shift them to keep the prices down, more knives will have to be allowed out with minor flaws and issues. Whereas if you were selling a more expensive knife, then you would expect higher quality control because your customers would expect fewer flaws in the product they were buying. This is the first Rough Rider I've had with any problems at all, if I remember correctly. And on this particular one I can live with it. That's a bit of a whopper, isn't it? So the last thing, we'll just see if you wanted to carry it in your pocket. how heavy is it? 122.9 grams. Is that? Yeah, that's in shot. So if I can get that to ounces, 4 1/3 ounces roughly. So it's big and it's heavy, but I like it. Show you some close-ups and maybe you like it too. Thanks for watching.